Well, hello and welcome to this short video on one of the contact relationship management systems I've been looking at. First of all, I should say the reason I've done this in the form of a video is because the system I'm looking at to start with, something called VV1, has a number of trial sites available to it. The one I'm using, though, only retains the data that you customize within it for a 24-hour period, and then it resets, or at least the documentation says it resets. So I've spent time understanding how it works, and I've spent this morning entering a whole load of data from the Intact DB schema, so the way that the screens look and so on, to simulate an equivalent in this CRM system. I don't expect this to be necessary for the other trials that we'll do, but for this one it is. This is on the internet, and the link is visible at the top of the screen there. VV1 is just the first one I've picked to look at. It's not my preference by any means. It's an open source system. That means it's the software doesn't cost anything. It's written and maintained by a group of volunteers. It's in use by thousands of non-profit organizations. This is something I found on the internet this morning, how many organizations use VV1. So here's some answers to that question. It's clearly a moving target because organizations might set up and not use it, or use it very actively, and come and go, of course. So it looks as if it might be as many as 10,000, somewhere between 6,000 and 9,000 by the looks of it. So it's an active community used in the non-profit arena, as the Americans call the charity sector. It's software that runs in the cloud. So this appears within, this is Chrome I'm using here, but most modern browsers would work very well with this, including iPads and so on. It comes with a fair amount of documentation. Well, in fact, it's a lot of documentation. This is good stuff. I've read this, and this is what allowed me to understand the principles by which I needed to update to reflect Intact's needs initially. Now, obviously, I haven't done a full implementation, and I certainly don't have any contact or customer or volunteer information within the database. I haven't added any data, but what I have done is configured it so that it could. What I've done is I've focused specifically on how the contacts are stored, but we'll run through the options associated with the other elements of what VV1 does, including event management, membership management, and we'll have a look at reports later. So to start with, then, what I'll do is I'll just run through each page as we come across it. What I'll do is I'll talk about that. I'll talk about some of the costs as we go. I'll go through the menus, and then what I'll do for the technically minded, I'll show how some of the custom fields were added. It's extremely easy to customize the database and to make it do what you want as opposed to what it does by default. But it's worth bearing in mind that what it does by default is very relevant to the charity sector, because that's what it was designed for in the first place. So let's get started. First of all, these are the menu items for the system, and in fact, on a proper full installation, as opposed to this demo, wouldn't have this blue bar at the top quite like this. This is a banner inserted by the guys who are providing this demonstration, Civi Hosting. So the software generates the menu items and generates these screens that we'll see as we go through. The software itself has to run somewhere, it has to run in the cloud, and that basically means there's a data center somewhere on the internet. And if you do a Google search for VV1 hosting costs, as I've done up here, then this is a page that I came across just a few minutes ago. Here's a list of them, and as I scroll down you'll see, so all of these provide hosting services for Civi CRM. So there's one here, £2.75 a month. This isn't per user, by the way, this is for the whole software. Essentially it's free software, so the hosting charges are quite low. £11 a month, £4 a month, £40 a month. So you have to look at this and with a little bit of a care. If you look at the cheaper ones, that would be for a relatively low performance installation. And if you look at the amount of data involved, we'd have to estimate how much data would be needed. Obviously, if you look at the amount of data, 10 gigabytes of data for £2.75 a month, 50 gigs for £40 a month, 150 gigs for £3 a month. It's all very odd, isn't it? And there's an unlimited one here as well. So these would be details that you'd look at and probably contact the hosting organizations and ask them. Note that these hosting organizations, most of these are in the States. So it's worth bearing in mind that your data would be in the United States, and that might have a privacy and security question mark for you. But this is completely normal now. You don't actually know where the cloud-based software runs. Okay, back to Civi CRM anyway. So what I did was I first of all started to look through the menu items. Contacts are the, if you like, the raw material of Civi CRM, of any CRM system. And if you look through here, there's the ability to create new individuals. A concept in Civi CRM is a household, a group of individuals, an organization of individuals, generating reports from those database entries, to create new activities or new emails for, and a new email is a bulk email to be sent out to all contacts, that's or some subset of contacts. You can import contacts and activities from the databases, and this is how we would do this in any CRM system, would have an import capability. Groups and tags are ways of grouping contacts together in various ways according to who they are. But what I did was I set up new contacts according to the Intact database requirements of staff, volunteers, stakeholders, customers and young persons. And you'll see how I've also customized these according to how the Intact database works at the moment, and you'll see that when I look at one in a moment. Contributions is the module within CRM that controls financial contribution to the organization. I haven't gone through this in great detail, and indeed, to be fair, I haven't gone through any of the others in great detail, apart from the administration section. I focused on contacts, but all the others are fairly self-explanatory. I think the only one that perhaps isn't is memberships, that we'll get to in a minute, but contributions is there. Events, so the creation of new events, and this would include the ongoing activities of Intact. So this is where you can register participation and report on participation within events. So this is critical to the reporting to the funding bodies, of course. Mailings is a little bit like I said before about the new email there. Mailings out to whole or subsets of the contacts. Memberships creates a way of providing contacts with the ability to participate in activities. I guess a good example of this would be an event would be perhaps a training session on a particular piece of software. You might want to teach people how to use, I don't know, Word, for example, on PCs. But memberships would be to be a member of the club. So Club 200 would be a membership, for example. Reports, and reports can be customized very comprehensively in the system, and then the administration section where all of these things are adjusted according to Intact's needs. So if we go into more detail then, if we look at a new individual, this is the kind of page you get. Now there are a set of tabs at the bottom here which are default tabs. I've adjusted some of them for Intact. If I expand all the tabs here, then what you'll see is this is the basic input form for an individual. But you'll see here the contact type is defined, and at the moment it says none. So what I've done is I've left the default contact data capture as it is, and it covers all of the data that is common across the Intact database in the vast majority of cases. There were one or two items of data that were captured that weren't to be found within the CiviCRM default database, and I added those. So Find Intact, I don't know what that is, but it was in your database, and Find Intact is there. The status was another one, and medical disability. But each of the different types to be found within the Intact database had additional data that was specific to those particular types of contact. So for example, if we went to a volunteer, what you find is that a new panel opens up associated with volunteer details, and this is what I've done to customize CiviCRM for Intact. So you'll see that this is the data that's currently stored within the Intact database. So I'll leave this for you to read, of course, but you'll recognize, I hope, as you'll read down this, the different data items that are used and stored within the current Intact database for volunteers. All of these things: Health Champion, Netball Club, all of these things. A lot of this is to do with DBS, I think, and you'll see also that the different types of data are stored. I think supervision notes, I might show you how to adjust this later actually, because that should really be a multi-line entry field there rather than limited to 255 characters, which it is, but that's something that can be adjusted very easily. Some of the fields are date fields, of course, and so on, and then the yes nos, and these are all accessible through reports as well as searchable, but again all of the default material appears as well. If we pick another type, let's pick customer, and what you see is that the customer details opens up, and you may remember that the Intact database has a series of fields for, so for example, mental health is improved, unchanged, declined, something called seasons, I wasn't sure what that is, and the same is true for physical health, overall health, social network notes, confidence notes added as well. So there's what I've done is I've shown, I think, how the Intact requirements would be integrated into the way that CiviCRM works, and like all CRM systems, that's largely it. What this does is create some means for the organization to capture contacts and associate them with events. So for example, registering a new event allows you to type in the name of an individual and then associate them with an event. And here's some examples that other people have put in clearly. If you were to create a new event, then you don't find it in this menu here, you find it in the Civi event administration, and this is where new events are created, including all of the different things you'd expect associated with events, and a good deal of customization can be done if it doesn't immediately meet Intact's needs. What I'm going to do now is I'll show how this data can be customized for a particular use, just to give you an idea of how straightforward that is. So first of all, we notice that supervision notes here under the volunteer, that's just a field there, and we'd like it to be bigger. So what we'll do is we'll go into administer, and here's the administer page, and under custom data, under volunteer details, then this is all of the information that I entered for this trial. And if I look into here, you'll see supervision notes. There it is there. So if we go into edit field, you'll see that it's set up as an alphanumeric text with a database field length of 255 characters. Well, that's not right. So what I'm going to do is delete it. Now, at the bottom, I can add a custom field. I'm waiting for it to respond. There it is. So I'm going to say supervision notes, and this time I'm going to say that it's a note in text area. Okay, 4 rows high, 60 columns wide, leave blank for unlimited, and so I say save at this point. Now you'll see the order is important here. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. So when we put this in, we'll see that supervision notes ends up at the bottom here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to where it needs to be immediately after where it says supervision support. So if I edit that field, I'll see that it's at number 20. So we want supervision notes to be at number 21. So we go down to the bottom, edit this field, we make that 21 and save it. And you'll see it's disappeared from here, and it should be immediately after supervision support. There we are. So let me put in another example, add custom field. So let's just say this is a new custom field. And on this occasion, we'll make this a text select field. So I'm going to provide a series of alternatives. I'm just typing this in as examples, and I'll make 3 the default and save it. Now you can have a look at the multiple choice options, or you can preview the field display on its own, and that's what it will look like with the different options. And we're done with the preview. But what I'm going to do now is go back to the beginning under contacts, a new volunteer, and if we go into volunteer details at the bottom, there it is, new custom field. Okay, so I hope I've given you an idea. Please feel free to have a look at this this link. I'll send it in the email, and this is accessible to you. Have a play with it. You cannot break it. The database is reset on a 24-hour period. If it isn't fully reset on a 24-hour period, if that's just they reserve the right to reset it but don't actually do it, then you might actually find the configurations that I've put in there in this demo. Please feel free to have a look. So I hope that's useful and gives you an idea of what a CRM system is. Thanks very much, and we'll speak soon. Cheers, bye.